Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Today, I'm going to cover a few things for you, mostly XRP related. One thing I want to point out at the front is that Peter Brandt, very well known, hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, he thinks that it's possible Bitcoin is about to drop 80%. 80%, 80. So I'm going to cover that prediction. He just put it out today, I believe it was. I'll pull up the date when I show you the tweet that he sent out, but I think it was actually today. Also going to cover for you Generation Z. That's what they're called, right? Generation Z, the age group of 13 to 21-year-olds. There's a new survey out on how they feel about investing in cryptocurrency, and so I'm going to share that data with you, and what will that mean moving forward? Does the younger generation have confidence in this asset class in general, and how important will that be for the asset class in terms of sustainability? I'm also going to cover for you some neat stuff on the Coil front. You're aware of Coil, aren't you? It's a company created by Stefan Thomas, a former chief technology officer at Ripple, and he moved on to start Coil, which is a new way. It's basically they're working on a new form of web monetization. In case you're not aware of what they are, and I got some comments from David Schwartz, the current CTO at Ripple. It's basically comparing XRP to Bitcoin, pros and cons. So lots of really fun, interesting stuff for you in this video. Before we get going here, though, please delicately tap that like button. Did I say button? Please delicately tap the like button, take two, and go ahead and subscribe unless you hate every word that's coming out of my mouth here. All right, so right on the screen here, this is a tweet from Hodor, most famous of all XRP bloggers, excellent source for material within the XRP community. And he tweets out, new Coil finds, ? Post them if you've got them. Here's one I found today. And so let me pull this up. This is from the Coil page here. There's a guy named Thomas Gardner. It looks like he's got a YouTube channel. And I checked this out. He covered Learning to Fly by Tom Petty. And I actually play guitar, so it's a little bit more interesting to me. Actually, to be honest, I haven't picked it up in years, but I was in a classic rock cover band for 5 years, so this type of thing is fascinating to me. And so just the actual content was fascinating to me. But it's even more fascinating to me because this guy's on Coil here. And so basically what Coil's trying to do, it's web monetization, because right now, there's a couple ways to get content on the web. Either there are advertisers that are getting paid and you get to watch or view your content after advertisers have fed you whatever they're trying to feed you. There are pop-up ads and there are ads on websites. There are video ads that you have to watch. And another form of payment is subscription model. Now, with subscription model, oh my God, that can be interesting. Have you ever tried to read an article anywhere and then hit a paywall? Oh my God, it's especially if they trick you into like reading part of it, and they're like, oh, if you want to read the rest, though, you gotta subscribe. And then I'm always like, I want to read it, but pass. That's what always happens with me inevitably. Like, I'm not going to subscribe for a 1-year term to whatever website you are. I'm just not going to do it. So this with Coil, you can actually stream money in real time, and they do it through a blend of interledger protocol technology, which you'll frequently see abbreviated ILP, interledger protocol technology, and a blend of that in XRP, because Coil is funded by Ripple through their Spring Initiative, and they only fund companies that have new, unique ways to use XRP as developers on top of the XRP ledger. So Ripple's really looking to support the XRP ecosystem, make sure that the XRP ecosystem remains healthy. So anyway, anybody that's putting content here on Coil, if I come across them, especially if Hodor keeps highlighting them like it sounds like he may, I'm going to keep pointing them out to you, because I feel like these people, I prefer to try and support them if they're doing something that is good, even in a small way for XRP. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I have skin in the game. I have invested monetarily in XRP. So if somebody's doing something, maybe this guy's not even invested in XRP, maybe he is. I don't know. It doesn't really particularly matter to me. Either way, I appreciate that the platform is being adopted. I want to see it adopted, so of course I'm happy to kind of give this guy a shout out. If you do check out his YouTube channel, then tell him Moon Lambo sent ya. He'll have no idea what the hell that means. It'll be a good time. All right, on to the next piece here. So this is a tweet. It's actually an image of 3 tweets from David Schwartz, and I got this from at XRPboy here. He's always tweeting all day, every day. And But yeah, he's always got XRP boy. He has always got all sorts of good tweets coming out. Yeah, pretty much all day, every day. So I always value the content I get from him. We follow each other on Twitter. So anyway, here's the image, and these tweets, they are almost a year old, but I love it. See, the reason I like this, I don't even care if this is almost a year old. It's like David Schwartz, he cuts through the nonsense with his tweets, and I really appreciate the way in which he can very articulately position his thoughts on various topics. And to be able to do it with in the constraints of Twitter, where there's the character limitation, it's not that easy to do, so I can appreciate this. So I just wanted to kind of run through these 3 tweets that it was from August 8th of 2018. Because he's super insightful, and I love hearing from Ripple's CTO anytime I can. And so he tweeted out, "You think Bitcoin can't be improved upon technically. The first crypto was technically perfect." Which is a concept, by the way, I've always thought was completely absurd. Look, I'm not going to claim that XRP or any other technology in a cryptocurrency is the best, period. It may make sense for newer, better cryptocurrencies to be used for various use cases down the road. I don't know what that will look like. Maybe that will be the case. If they're just marginally better than XRP, for example, does it really matter? Probably not. When it comes to, for instance, let's say there's a technology out there that, because XRP settles in, 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever it may be typically on average. And let's say you could get one cryptocurrency that's new out there that's better than XRP, just hypothetically, and it could settle in like a tenth of a second. What problem is that really solving at that point? Especially if XRP is already globally adopted by the banking industry and financial institutions, and it's already adopted, it's already using, there's already infrastructure in place. If there's something that comes out that's faster, what is that actually solving if you could go from roughly 3 seconds to settle down to 1/10 of a second? It's almost the same. The difference is negligible, whereas right now you're talking about going from a matter of maybe 7 days to settle a financial transaction across borders down to 3 seconds. Now that is world changing. That's absolutely mind-blowing technology. The difference is night and day. And so, if it gets to the point where we're already there and there's functionally almost no difference, well, if you want to try and improve it, maybe you do improve with layer 2 or layer 3 technology. In the case of Bitcoin, though, that's not what's going on here. You're talking about layer 1 technology that doesn't work. Not in a global sense, unless you're saying that it's going to be used exclusively as a store of value. If you do buy into that, then okay. You don't have to change a thing. It can be slow for transactions, because if you're going to buy into that and hold for a long time, you don't care if it takes a day or 2 or 3 for your transactions to settle. If the world really decides long term, hey, this is a thing, and that's just that. Well, okay, super duper. But the concept that Bitcoin was just as the first cryptocurrency in existence couldn't be improved, it doesn't need to be improved upon by replacing it, you just need to build on top of it, that concept has never made sense to me. Whereas you've got XRP, which came along afterwards, and it's infinitely superior from a technological perspective. So if there is any layer 2 or layer 3 technology that needs to be built on top of XRP, okay, that's fine. I'm just saying that the disparity in quality of product from Bitcoin to XRP is so vast that it doesn't make sense to even attempt to continue to fix Bitcoin and have it be usable in any capacity as an actual peer-to-peer currency. The only caveat I'm going to throw in there is if they can get Lightning Network to work, okay, then fine, perhaps, but I still have problems with that. And by the way, if Lightning does work, if Lightning Network works, it actually works. It's not specific to Bitcoin. It would work for every cryptocurrency out there. And even if it works, I still have a problem with it because it requires pre-funded accounts, which is the problem. It's like basically the crypto version of Nostro Vostro, which is what Ripple's seeking to eliminate, basically. And so no matter what, like, I'm still like, no, throw away this layer 1 technology unless you really think that it's going to have staying power as a store of value. Beyond that, just use XRP, and if there's something better that comes after that for a different use case, super duper, I'm not against that. Wherever technology takes us, I'm not here for ideological reasons. So if something starts to get adoption, in addition to XRP gaining adoption, I'll throw money in that too if I believe that there's some staying power, and if that ever happens, I'll share it with you, and then you can make your own opinion. But right now, there's a reason that this is an XRP-centric YouTube channel. It's because nothing else makes sense. It really doesn't. By and large, it really doesn't. So anyway, his next tweet here, David Schwartz, he tweets out, proof of work, which is mining, of course, is expensive, unsafe, and then he writes in parentheses, double spends, no partition tolerance, and making Bitcoin more centralized every day. XRP Ledger is cheap, safe, and becomes more decentralized every single day. And so what he's talking about there, and it couldn't ring more true to me, he's talking about the centralization in large part to the mining operations, which are, I mean, come on, let's be real, it's centralized in China. And how hard would it be for instance, the Chinese government to take over and begin reorganizing the chain and, double spending? And then just think, to what end could they do that, and how would that have an impact all over the world? It could impact financial donations in terms of elections. It depends on how far along you get with that type of cryptocurrency actually being used for such things. But you can imagine a world where things like that could absolutely happen, and that could be a threat to any number of sovereign nations around the world. Whereas XRP Ledger has done nothing but become more and more decentralized as time has passed. And you can look at the number of validators and nodes out there today. And, for instance, of course, Ripple has no particular power over the network. They own a lot of XRP, but that doesn't give them power over the network. And so, again, it's cheap, safe. There are over 48 million ledgers closed since inception. And it just stands in stark contrast to Bitcoin in my mind. And the next tweet from David Schwartz here. The reaction from the Bitcoin community often seems to be, why did you try to make something better instead of working on the tech that I'm personally invested in? Isn't that the spirit Bitcoin was supposed to be against? Absolutely, David Schwartz. You couldn't have worded that better. I'm totally with you. And I already explained why I think it's ridiculous to build on top of inferior Layer 1 technology when superior Layer 1 technology, XRP, is already out there, right? But I can understand why. And this is a perfect opportunity to make the point. It's that, especially if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you probably got a lot of money in Bitcoin. Heavy Bitcoin bags much good, sir? I would say probably yes. If you're really going to deny the perfection relative to Bitcoin that XRP is. Seriously, if you're really going to deny that, okay, you do your thing, man. But I'll have no part of it. So I think, big picture though, they can keep their heads in the sand as long as they want, but in terms of adoption, it just ain't happening. It just ain't happening. Because like I said, even if they can get Lightning Network to work, to what degree does it actually work? Because it's a centralized solution to what is supposed to be a decentralized currency. So I just don't see that happen. But man, people are so ideologically invested, so monetarily invested. It's easy for me to see why there's so much tribalism within the crypto space. But from my perspective, me as an XRP holder, not tribal whatsoever. I will run from XRP if it no longer makes sense, and I will be vocal about it because there's nothing personal there. And it's nothing personal about anybody in the community. To the contrary, I've met so many great people. I think XRP community is like the friendliest community out there, and I've really enjoyed it, made some friends out there. And so that part's fantastic, and I hope that would last regardless of whether or not something I thought bad happened to XRP, just in a hypothetical scenario. I mean, I'm nothing but an XRP bull, but I'm saying if something did go bad, like, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to share that with you because I won't keep my head stuck in the sand, and I hope you guys can appreciate that because you know what that's called? It's called critical thinking. Think with your brain, not your emotions. That's what I'm going to work with. That's why I'm so against the Bitcoin maximalist point of view. That's exactly why. It's anti-critical thinking. All right, next piece here. This is what I was talking about at the outset of the video. This is from Peter Brandt. Let's see how many followers he actually has here. Let's highlight this. 295,000. Jeez, he's cited in all sorts of articles within the crypto world. And he's not just some like negative Nancy here. I think that this is his genuine, honest opinion. I haven't seen anything from him to make me think that he'd ever be disingenuous or trying to say something to support a particular narrative. I'm not aware of anything like that. So I'm going to share with you his thoughts. And he tweeted out, this was today at 4:49 a.m., if current parabolic phase is violated, we could expect either an 80% correction of 7-month advance or a much smaller correction with definition of new parabola with shallower slope. Bitcoin note formation of possible 2-week HNS or HNS failure. And then here are the, if you're not driving, you can look at a screen here. This is the chart that he attached. And here's the other one. So they're both on the screen right now. You can pause if you want to take a look at this any closer anyway. And so basically what he's saying in this note is Bitcoin's price could go down a lot, or Bitcoin's price could go down a little bit. So there you go. Might go down a little or might go down a lot. I'm not sure how much we learned from this, but that's what he's sharing. And since it's out there, and typically when he tweets stuff like that, it makes news. So I will not be surprised if some of the crypto news sites do pick this up because he always ends up in the news. But yeah, so it might go down a little or might go down a lot. And so what do you think? Well, I'll say this, and this is, I have no technical analysis background and I don't care. Like, they could crash 80% and I just buy more XRP because XRP price would go down too, and I don't care. I'm a fundamentals guy. I'm not a trader. I will not be trading just to chase after a quick buck, and that's just not my thing. So I will say this, though. You've got other big names, people that I think kind of know what they're talking about when it comes to price predictions and stuff. And that's why I'll just cite this real quick, and I had a video about this recently, but Mike Novogratz, creator of Galaxy Digital, basically sounds like a hedge fund, but they're courting institutional investors and so forth, and they give out loans and stuff too. So they do a bunch of stuff. But Mike Novogratz, smart billionaire guy, he believes that Bitcoin will be reaching its all-time high by mid-December this year or the end of the fourth quarter this year. That's his prediction, and he thinks it will go up from there. And he said he doesn't plan to sell any Bitcoin until it reaches that level. He did sell around the $14,000 mark, but he said that's because it was too much of a parabolic rise. He knew it was going to crash. He believed confidently. He was right. It did. And he believes that you're not going to see that again until it reaches closer to about the $20,000 mark. So he'll be de-risking at that point, and no doubt he'll buy more back in after it crashes at that point or whenever it does happen. Presuming he's right, of course. But that's a completely different opinion than what Peter Brandt has. So I want to cite all these price predictions for you, and then you and I, we're just going to have to follow and see who's right, because I'm not a TA guy. I like talking about it. It's fun. I want to be aware of this, but we'll just see we'll have to see how things shake out. All right. One more thing I want to point out real quick as it pertains to price. I just want to build on something that I posted a few videos back about. It was CoinDesk, and they had a piece about how Bitcoin was the least, the worst, or XRP was the worst performer in 2019 out of the top cryptocurrencies. And I was pointing out it depends on the timeline you're looking at, because you can form a narrative. And then you can take a look at this. I'm not going to read through this really, but this is a piece. This is from CoinTelegraph, different source, but still, just to point out the narrative. You can create whatever narrative you want. And this is from today, and it states top 5 crypto performers: XMR, BTC, BNB, ETC, XRP. There you go. Whatever narrative you want, you can make it, dude. That's it. So just watch for that stuff, because publications put out FUD, and I think it does scare some people. So I just wanted to make you aware that as it pertains to some of the bigger, older outlets like CoinDesk, they seem to be rather anti-XRP in general. You can just kind of tell the way they write about it in general. They like, anytime there's something positive about XRP, they begrudgingly report it. And they're gleeful about anything that could potentially be perceived as negative. And that's not how they treat Bitcoin. They treat Bitcoin completely different. So that's what I'm seeing. That's my opinion. So I just want to point that out. All right, check out this topic. I found this kind of fascinating. This is from CoinTelegraph. And the piece is titled, Survey: Generation Z Does Not Plan to Buy Cryptocurrency. And I'm not sure how much this matters. I'll tell you my opinion on this. So the piece starts out, a Generation Z does not plan to buy cryptocurrency, according to the results of a survey conducted by Business Insider released on July 5th. Per the report, SurveyMonkey audience partner Cent surveyed 1,884 U.S. residents between ages 13 to 21 to learn the opinions of Generation Z. The survey participants were asked how likely they were to purchase cryptocurrency in the next 6 months, and over 52% answered not at all. Okay, so I read that, and I kind of just did a facepalm, because they were asking 13-year-olds if they were going to buy cryptocurrency in the next 6 months. Let me repeat that. They were asking 13-year-olds if they intended to invest in cryptocurrency within the next 6 months, which means they'd certainly be either 13 or no older than 14 years old. No, of course, I'm surprised that any answered yes. Who answered yes out of that group? Jesus Christ. So, I mean, to me, that's just kind of silly. Furthermore, even if they did have a firm opinion on this, like they were actually well-researched, when you're that young, opinions just change anyway. So I'm not convinced that any of this answered. Anyway, the piece continues. Only 5% answered extremely likely to buy, 6% answered very likely, 15% answered somewhat likely, and 17% responded not so likely, while 4% gave different unspecified answers. Still, while the results of the survey have just been released, it was conducted in January before the recent bull market started. Business Insider notes, the reinvigorated market could cause some of the teens in the survey to rethink their position, and it may spur the 26% who said they were somewhat likely, very likely, or extremely likely to purchase cryptocurrency to pull the trigger. How are they getting this money in? Is it with parental help? I mean, what are these kids doing? They're earning money from chores. They got maybe a weekly allowance. And then what are they doing? They're going to their local bank, opening up a checking account at age 13 by themselves, and then moving the money to Coinbase and buying a bunch of crypto? I don't think so. So, what the heck is this? So anyway, so look, this is kind of like I don't think that this is intentional FUD by saying that, hey, the people after this, because my fear is that some people might read this and be like, oh, well, is crypto going to have staying power if the younger people don't want to invest in this? I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think that this points to it. I just, to draw that conclusion from this particular group of individuals at this particular age doesn't make any sense. So there's a few other points I wanted to make out on this topic. Check out this piece, because I think people young, I'm 36, so I think that people, especially younger than me, are likely to stay into crypto, get more into crypto, especially as time passes, because I'm not that young, but I ain't that old. So I'm kind of somewhere in between right there, that Goldilocks zone. All right, so here's something from Barry Silbert. It's from the May 23rd this year. Generation Bitcoin. 90% of millennials prefer crypto to gold, says ETF report. And here it is. And so then this is a CCN piece. And I'll read just a little bit of it right here. The U.S. investing industry stands on the precipice of a dramatic upheaval that could see Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency assets replace gold in investor portfolios. That's according to Nick Gracchi, president of the ETF Store and independent investment advisor. He revealed in a Bloomberg TV interview that his millennial clients are clamoring to hold Bitcoin in their portfolios if only the SEC would let them. Then you scroll down here a little bit further here. Responding to a question from Bloomberg analyst Eric Balkunas, sorry, butcher name's awesome, about whether he would ever invest client funds in a Bitcoin ETF, Gracchi stunned his fellow panel members when he said that millennial investors overwhelmingly desire to hold Bitcoin instead of traditional hedge assets like gold. How overwhelming? 90%. And here's a quote from the guy. When we talk to our younger clients, we have a core gold allocation in our portfolios, and they'll ask about that and say, what about crypto? And if you talk to primarily millennials and ask them which they prefer, Bitcoin or gold, it's a landslide. It's not even close. It's like 90% prefer Bitcoin. And again, that's a direct quote. So yeah, I think the generations coming after me, every generation that passes, I suspect what you'll actually find, this original survey about Generation Z notwithstanding, I think you're going to find that the more generations that pass, the more interested they'll be in the cryptocurrency asset class. That's my guess, my prediction on that particular topic. And here's more evidence to that point. This is actually pretty good, despite it being a less than 50% number. But this is from Forbes. The survey finds 27% of those aged 18 to 34 prefer Bitcoin over stocks. Now, mind you, that is not taken into account actual use case. So if you ask that question, you may very well get a different type of response, like how many actually want to use cryptocurrency. That would be a different question. So the 27%, just the fact that age group at such early adoption phase with so little of the world actually investing in the asset class, 27% of that age group prefers it over the concept of stocks. To me, that's still astonishing and a positive development. That's what I think. And here's one more for you. This is from CoinTelegraph. Survey, and this is from September 7th, 2008. So mind you, this is like, we're not at the bottom of the bear market yet when this came up, but pretty darn close, relatively close, a couple months away or so, I guess, or what, 10, 11, yeah, about 3 months away. Anyway, survey, half of American millennials interested in using crypto. And again, this is at the bottom of a bear market. So this is a different question around that time frame. And again, half of American millennials interested in using crypto. And so I just wanted to point out the headline there, and I think that all is well, the asset class is not going away. And so it'll be interesting if we revisited the question of Generation Z like a decade from now. I'd be more interested in the results at that point, once they're not relying on allowance money from doing the dishes from their parents to invest in crypto. Then we can talk a little further. How's that sound, right? All right, that's all I got for you today. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.